Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this week's strategy session. Rick and Stuart are in an undisclosed location and cannot co-host tonight. But I have a special guest, Doug Jones. Many of you know I worked for Doug when we ran for the Senate and won in 2017. I'm so proud to have helped him and so happy that he's here tonight to talk about what's going on in his race and the country. Doug, welcome to
Thanks
Strategy.
for having me, Joe. It's interesting about where the other guys might be. I'm not going to ask because I'm afraid you'd have to kill me or something. But I'm so glad to be with you tonight. This is great.
So tell us where the race is. I was just down there with you. Hell of a speech you gave.
Thank you.
But give people a feel for what's going on down there and what you're seeing. The crowds here. You had a hell of a crowd down in Huntsville, up in Huntsville, yeah. I think.
Yeah. No, Joe, it's incredibly exciting. We're seeing the same kind of energy here in Alabama that I think people are seeing across the country. I know that sounds counterintuitive that you would see these kind of crowds in a state like Alabama, but it's absolutely true. There's really something going on the ground here. People are fed up. They're tired of the chaos. They need the affordability issues. Data centers are like they are is exploding as an issue around the country. And we've seen such an amazing excitement around here. As you mentioned, the town halls, this will be our fifth one. I'm going to go as soon as I finish here. We're doing one just south of Birmingham in Shelby County down in Columbiana. And we'll probably have 250, 300 people there. We had 600 in Huntsville. Now, crowds are not always a barometer of what the election's going to be, but we really are feeling the excitement when we're seeing so many people talking to us that are, independents, or now they're independents. They were Republicans the last time that we were talking to them, that are coming over. They're talking to us. They want to see the change. So I feel really good. I appreciate all your help and Alex and all the guys. It's just really exciting. We just got about 90 days to go, and let's make it happen.
And bring people up to speed on what Tuberville's been saying about data center. Get into that a little bit about this and the Social Security scam.
Yeah,
stuff he's been talking about.
Tommy Tuberville is the gift that keeps on giving. Sometimes when he opens his mouth, every time he says something, gives a speech, he says something else that we package and use. Just in the last couple of weeks, he called literally on the floor of the United States Senate. He was calling Social Security a scam, said it's always been a scam. Literally using the word scam. Now, this is a guy, by the way, that in between coaching jobs tried to run a hedge fund with one other guy, and that was a scam. They were using the money inappropriately. He got sued for it. His partner went to prison. That's all I'll say about that. You can look it up on the internet. It's like TS Capital or something like that. But he's always wanted to privatize Social Security. All the while, his tax returns that he inadvertently disclosed show that he's taken like 93 grand out of Social Security. So that is a big issue for a lot of people, especially our Alabama state employees that have a good retirement system. And we've got a great program with the retirement systems of Alabama. Most people think he will want to privatize all of that. So he did that. But I think the biggest issue that we've seen in the last couple of weeks with him, Joe, has been that data center issue. He is all in. He is just parroting whatever Donald Trump says, that they're gold mines. They are all in. And quite frankly, what was stunning to me, he basically said that all of these communities and all of the concerns that we're seeing in Alabama and really across the country, all of those concerns are bull crap. That's his words, not mine. They're bull crap, that they are all emanating from China on social media. So that has really set him back a little bit. He's getting a lot of heat for that in just about every quarter because it's a big issue here. These things are running up, and he is, he's just going to let Alabama become the dumping ground for data centers, these hyperscale data centers that we're seeing popping up all over the place right now. And people are up in arms about them. They don't have the transparency. They're concerned not just about their power company bills and the rates and the water, They're concerned about the quality of life. That's such a, we've got the one going up here in Birmingham, not far from here. Joe, that thing is as big as 7 or 8 Walmart supercenters. Okay. That changes the complexion of entire neighborhoods and communities and in any area where they are put. So that is a big issue, and he is locked in on it, all in. The president signed this order the other day to promising not to make ratepayers pay for it. And that's an interesting concept, because to them, it's all about money. And if they can say that they'll save ratepayers, they don't give a damn about the quality of life or anything else that people's concerns. They just want to try to make sure that financially people are not going to get hurt. But these big tech bros are going to make $1 bazillion off of Alabama and everybody else if we're not careful.
Well, they could pledge that they'll pay for the electricity, but with Montgomery giving them tax incentives to build them and no guardrails to make them do that in Alabama, none.
Right.
I think Sean has some video of Tuberville on data centers. Sean, do you have that?
27 states that already said, "Oh, we're not going to build data centers. We're not going to do that. It makes too much noise. It's going to ruin the climate." Bull crap. I mean, they're listening to all this nonsense they see on social media that's coming from China, because China does not want us to grow.
It's like, that's my favorite part, actually, is accusing the people of Alabama they're listening to China too much.
Yeah.
Now, I've been down there with you, Doug, and I don't think there's a single person in Alabama who listens to China on anything.
No, not at all. I mean, but that's his, but Joe, as you saw from the speech I gave last week, and I hope for those that may be interested in the campaign, find the link to that speech, because it really sets out our vision for things. And I think it's a bigger vision than just Alabama, because especially in the South, we see so many times where these folks get elected, they go down to the state capitol and they lose sight of who sent them there. And they just talk to the big money interest and the tech bros and the billionaires. And that's who they listen to. And that's what's going on. Everything is done in secret. Nobody is listening to China, but all of this stuff just starts popping up without talking to anybody. And that's what we're doing. We've called for a moratorium on this for a year, to put some guardrails up, to protect communities, to put communities first. And again, we're talking about hyperscale data centers that are going to run 24/7. We don't need to be giving tax abatements to these things. They're going to make $1 gazillion if they get up and running. And we're not competing with these things with China. We're not even competing with other states. Some communities will be okay with this and they will have their own incentives. But we need, and when I say incentives to make sure that these data center groups are paying into the communities, not that the communities are paying them to come there, but they need to be investing in these communities. And that's what we're calling for the moratorium about, to make sure that the quality of life in all of these communities is protected. And importantly, it's known on the front end.
Yeah, no, I was there. We two of us with a couple others, Alex, I think, went over and looked at the one in Birmingham that's going up. That thing is, acre after acre after acre after acre. It's not just the water and the energy, but it's hunters and farmland and not just there, but in other places in the state that are going to be impacted by this. And it's all, but Montgomery is, gas pedal, tax incentives if you want to build them. And Tuberville's taking their money and calling anybody, basically any of the concerns, bull crap. It's just it put that with what hell of a week with the Social Security scam.
Yeah. I was telling somebody today, we try to do so much on social media. We try to be proactive and be positive with our campaign on social media, but we've got to call out his bull crap. Okay. Just to put it simple. We got to call it out. And every time I start to do that, he says something else that's just dumb as hell. And so it's just, it's unbelievable the way that he just continues to go and barrel forward with this. And they're going to double down on the whole hyperscale data center. They're just going to double down on it, because that's the way this operates. And there was an article today, Joe, and I think I sent this to you earlier, that I think really captures the way he looks at it. And so many folks in Alabama and some others, that everything is about money. He doesn't do anything for money, and he certainly doesn't do anything without it. And that is, I think, a big issue here. This is all money, money, money without regard. And Donald Trump called it a gold mine. Tommy Tuberville called it a gold mine. And my line, as you know, was, that's fine. Maybe they are, but we need to find out who's getting the gold and who's getting the shaft.
Yep, absolutely. Because those data center developers, they really care about these communities.
Oh, yeah.
They don't give a damn. But the one thing I do want to hit on, because I know it's a problem, not just for you, but getting people to focus on governor's races and get them to focus on funding the South is just, I mean, I think it's a critical thing in our party. I know you were working on it prior to running this time. But it just seems to me, particularly on data centers, like, it's not going to, no one in Washington's going to put, it's going to be governors, I think, that have much more impact on some of these issues. But again, getting people to pay attention, because the party writ large, and I've been part of this for a long time, and it was easy to raise money for a Senate race, easy to raise money for a House race if it's in play. But man, if it's in the South or it's a governor's race, it's just tough to get people to pay attention. But I think this is a year people are going to be shocked. I think not just with you, but what happens in other states like Florida, North Carolina, Georgia. The South is rising if we can just get the money to compete.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, because I agree with you. It is something that I've said for so long, that, the South really, and Alabama, quite frankly, in particular, was the place where so many of the country's divisions started. And it is now seems to be a place where people are beginning to heal those divisions and come together, because they're seeing through what's happened to them in the last 20 or 30 years under Republican rule. They see an arrogance that is going on. They see the corruption that is going on, and that their voices are not being heard. And that's true throughout the South. That's true in Florida. It's true in Georgia. You got a hot Senate race going on over in Mississippi right now that's going to be really good. I think my buddy John Ossoff is in good shape to once again win in Georgia. We see what's going on in North Carolina. But the governor's races, I think, are so important, because as we have seen in the last administration, since Donald Trump took office again, it's the governors who are having to stand up and to speak out and to do their own bidding to try to make sure we save democracy, try to make sure that we push back on anything that is destroying. And that includes fair elections, by the way. It's the governors and the secretaries of state in these states that are pushing back to try to make sure that we stop this incredible march that Donald Trump and all his minions, like Tommy Tuberville, Byron Donalds down in Florida, you can just rattle them off, that are trying to make sure that we completely destroy democracy in this country. And that is a reason as you know, Joe, we talked about it. We talked about all of the people that asked me to run from my old seat and how much I love the Senate. They were tugging on my heartstrings, because that's where I started, and I love being there for the time I was there. But in this day and age, the Senate and the House are really important, but they've also been fairly dysfunctional. And where the rubber meets the road is in the state houses. And if you get the right governor that can use the bully pulpit, good instance here, Joe. If I'd have been governor this year, we would not have a special session to try to gerrymander districts and marginalize Black voters in Alabama. We would have kept the districts that we had and not imposed a district that a 3-judge panel has twice said was intentionally drawn to discriminate. Governors make a difference, and I think they're going to make a bigger difference in the next couple of years going forward during the last 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency.
And actually, I think Sean has some footage of I think Cornyn, was it? Sean, do you have that one? That shows why governors are going to be more important, I think.
As recently as yesterday, that he likes the idea of this fund, that he wants to find some way to pay these people. Does that concern you as someone who's tried to fight against getting this anti-weaponization fund in place?
Well, there's nothing we could do to rein in the president when he said he likes the fund and he wishes it still exists, but the fact of the matter, it's dead. And that's all we could do under these circumstances. See you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Washington's not going to rein him in.
No. And what Cornyn is basically saying, and I'm really disappointed. I thought that John and Tom Tillis were going to stand up and do the right thing because they know better. They know that it's not dead. It's just resting right now. And when you've got a president that consistently wants to continue to make sure it's alive and well, and consistently says that, and you have a nominee for attorney general who has been his lapdog, the way Todd Blanche has, his personal lawyer, then you cannot rely on the fact that it is, quote, dead. It's just, that's not the case. It can be resurrected pretty much at any time that they say it can, anytime that he wants it. And by the way, Joe, the only thing that they did was to sign something, to do some kind of thing to make sure that the fund itself was at least put out of sight for the time being. What they didn't do was anything that protected Donald Trump and his family from having any tax examination. This $2 or $3 billion that he's making while as president, since he's got in office, he doesn't have to pay a damn dime in taxes, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And that's a problem too. And that when you don't have folks just standing up and doing their job that they were sworn to do, it's very disappointing.
So what, you're running the thing that I think I wanted to let you talk a little bit about is one of the reasons you wanted to do this was because there really isn't, we needed to build a party. The Democratic Party is abandoned a lot of places in terms of the National Party putting money in and things too. We talked a little bit about how tough it is to get money to fund the South and to make it competitive. But you run a different kind of campaign that's not that is literally about building from the bottom up, literally getting activists to start organizing the entire state precinct by precinct, literally creating a stronger party out of whole cloth with your candidacy and with the ticket that you put together. Because for the first time in years, there are actually candidates running in the Democratic Party for attorney general, for lieutenant governor, for secretary of state, for all these things. I talk about that a little bit. I think it's important for people to understand what we're building down there.
Yeah, it is truly one of the reasons that I opted to jump back into this fight. One reason obviously was because there are things in this country we're fighting for, and I just couldn't sit on the sidelines and see what was happening, and all of our state officials that are dominated by Trumpies just continue to do the things that they were doing in Alabama without as much as we've got some good legislators that have tried to stand up, but their numbers are small, and there's not been that coordinated effort around the state as much. But what I found when I was traveling the state is that there are so many people that are ready, willing, and able. This is not like Alabama is like a state where there's only a handful of us in Alabama. There's a lot of folks that really have been pushing back, wanting to find a home. They just didn't really have it as much, and we didn't get any support. So you're right. One of the things that we talked about doing early on was making sure that we build a winning campaign, but we also build something that was going to outlast a campaign, that we were putting an infrastructure, that we were building, we were getting people in the campaign that had not been engaged as much before, and we're building a bench. And so the first 2 months of the campaign, I spent recruiting. I helped our minority leader, Anthony Daniels, recruit folks to run for the legislature, but significantly we recruited those constitutional offices. We had 7 constitutional offices in Alabama, and this is the first time since 2006 that we've got a candidate and a good candidate in every one of those constitutional offices. And I got to tell you, Joe, you've seen it. That is the thing that I think is exciting people as much as anything, that they've got these choices, that we've got something that we're not taking people for granted. We're giving them choices. We're talking about the things that we care about. And that's the working people in this state. It's just not the big tech bros and the money interest. We're talking about people, and we want to open it up. And so that we are doing that. And we're building that county by county, precinct by precinct, to where we can go after the votes that I got against Tommy Tuberville in 2020. Over 900,000, which had been enough to win any governor's race in history. And so we've got our work cut out for us, but those votes are there. And all our job is to get them out to vote. And I think our folks are doing a great job, and we're seeing it in the numbers at our events, but we saw it in our primary. We had, we're an open primary state, so that you don't register. You just go up and ask for a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot. And we had more than double the number of Democratic ballots that voted from just 4 years ago in 2022. Republicans spent $35 million on their races because they were contested up and down the ballot, really ugly races, but they spent so much money, and their ballots were down 25%. And that's a big deal. That is translating to us for a lot of goodwill. We are now showing people that there is not just a path to victory. That path is a lot wider than even you and I thought when we first started this thing back in November. It's a lot wider. And when you couple that with people looking at the South and looking at governor's races, it really helps us in so many ways.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, folks, if you're not giving to somebody spending it all on TV ads. We're spending it on the ground, building an organization. And as Doug points out, 900,000 people, over 900,000 people voted for him in the last time he ran. I think, what is it, about same 870,000 is what the winning governor candidate gets.
Well,
can you go into that a little bit?
Look, in some of our races since 2010, when we got wiped out, we've run against incumbents every time. And that is always a challenge in Alabama when you're running against an incumbent. This time we don't have that. And if our numbers go back to where we think that they might be in the 1.6 to 1.7 range, an 850,000 is going to win that race. And that is very, very doable it's not only doable, it is just right there for our taking, because I do believe that people are looking for that change. Our folks are excited. The Calais decision and voting rights has gotten people fired up, but Donald Trump and Tommy Tuberville have got our base fired up too. They want to get out there, and there is such a lack of enthusiasm on the other side. I mean, you just don't see it except for the real hardcore partisans, people. And that is not just for Tuberville. That is up and down the ballot. Our candidates are so much better qualified, so much better candidates, that is exciting a base like I haven't seen in Alabama in a long time, Joe. Yeah,
well, I did see it. I saw it in 2017 because for the first time we had a viable candidate who was actually And what happened? Massive turnout, and you won. And now you have the entire ticket, you leading it, and a great slate of candidates up and down. That wasn't there in 2017 for us. It's there now. You built it. Not only that, I say this, it's one of my favorite things to say to you is like, I don't believe any of those 900,000 plus people who voted for you woke up sometime since Tommy Tuberville's been senator thinking, well, I made a mistake. I should have voted for Tommy Tuberville. In fact, no, I don't think that happened. And I think, at least from what I'm seeing on the ground, what I saw in the focus group, everything and you see it, in the turnout in the primaries, man, a lot of people have woken up and are not that energized. The people who voted for him,
right?
I think there are a lot fewer of those who, a lot more of them think maybe they made an error here.
Yeah. Yeah,
know,
I mean,
so-
he's got a record now that we're talking about all the time. And the other thing, Joe, and I think this is important for folks to know, because since the 24 election, there's been so much criticism of the Democratic Party, the DNC, how Democrats as a whole, or there's nothing but these elites, and we've got to get back to working folks in the states, and around. We're doing that. We're hitting podcasts, we're hitting social media, we're doing all of those things. But with this ticket, we're also going into the rural areas. We're talking to people and listening to folks that I don't think Democrats have really done in a long time. One of the folks that we've got running with us, Ron Sparks, was the ag commissioner for 2 terms. And he is on the road more than any of us. And he's talking to farmers. He's going into these rural areas. He's talking to the folks that we can win back. And these counties are we know are tough to win, but I don't think we have to win them. We just have to narrow that gap and go through. We're organizing in those counties as much as we are in the Black Belt and other areas where is the traditional Democratic vote. And that's really, I think, going to be a good lesson for folks down the road, because we are doing exactly what every commentator, every political pundit has said that Democrats need to do. And that's exactly what we're doing in Alabama.
Yeah, no. And as you say, Tuberville's out there. I mean, these are all communities, rural communities, where they want to say over data centers. They want,
Right. That's right.
And so he's creating an opening. I mean, because of the differences on that issue, on Medicaid expansion, the losing rural hospitals in Alabama. There's a lot. I mean, folks, I'm telling you, people are going to be surprised. Doug, before we go, because we're running out of time, please, tell people how they can help, where they can go to contribute or to help or to learn more about what's going on in the campus.
Yeah, sure, Judge. Look, we've got the website, which is dougjones.com. It's the same one we've had for a long time. You can sign up to donate, to volunteer, even if you're not in Alabama. We're doing a lot of food banking. We're doing those. It's Doug for Alabama. You can follow me at Doug Jones on both X and Blue Sky, as well as Instagram as Doug Jones Bama, Facebook as Doug Jones Bama, and the Doug for Alabama handles are doing a lot as well. So yeah, please join us. I mean, we're really building a movement that I think is going to really help make sure we change things in the South. And when we do that, we change things across the country. We change things for the better across the country when we can make a difference in the South. And I would be less than candid, Joe, if I didn't say that we didn't need all the help we can get. We really do. It's an uphill battle. I tell people all the time, we're running as much as anything against history and expectations. But doggone it, we've done it before, Joe. We done it before, and we can do it again. We're
going to do it again. And, the footnote on that is, Cooper in North Carolina, when you win the governor's race, look at what's happening now. I mean, it really does. So winning more of these races in the South like that, putting a good governor in place, that's how we're going to change the South and gain a foothold and keep building for the future. Doug, thanks so much, man. Great seeing you. I know you got to get to the town hall. Hopefully there's a big crowd waiting for you.
I think we're going to see a good one. So thanks, Joe. It's great to be with you. I appreciate it. And thanks to Lincoln for